I think something that I have noticed with the rise of social media and influencers and content creators is that despite success, riches, despite the accumulation of materialistic things, despite affluence, despite fame, all of that, I find that there's like, maybe it's not a trend, maybe it's just happening across some of the creators that I watch, but there has been a theme of returning back to faith, religion, Christianity, or some type of spirituality. But more specifically, I think that I found that people have been more curious about Christianity, and I just think it's really, really interesting that this is happening after gaining all of the things that they thought would fulfill them or make them content, or that the world will look at them and say, this makes you successful. So I'm going to talk about that a little bit today. And the reason why I want to talk about it is because people are hurting. People are feeling lost. People are feeling a sense of hopelessness and confusion, and it's causing, depression. It's causing anxiousness. It's causing people to question their worth, their purpose here on life, whether or not they have a purpose. If you feel like you don't, like, what's the point of living? Or the other end, let's just act all crazy. Let's have no morals or ethics whatsoever. If the end goal is just like money and success and fame, then I'll do anything and everything to get to that. So I've noticed probably in the past year or two, and maybe there's been an uptick of it like post-pandemic, but I've noticed a theme across content creators, specifically lifestyle content creators that I follow, that are turning to faith, either back to the faith that they had or they thought they had when they were a bit younger, or looking to explore Christianity. Some examples of this, I have it in my notes here if I'm looking. So some influencers that I like and that I watch, okay? Some influencers that I like and that I watch is Aaliyah's Face. And I started watching her in 2020 when everyone was bored at home watching TV. Kelly Stamps is someone that I used to watch a lot. Kyra, she's also in the same field as Aaliyah's Face. Arnell, Armin, Talitha Jane, I watch on and off. And Vivacious Honey. I think that's, yeah, Vivacious Honey. She is what motivated this video, actually. During the summer, she put out a video about her testimony, coming to Christ and getting baptized, and how she spent most of her life being agnostic and atheist. And so I thought it was, I always find it fascinating and interesting, people who grew up like not believing in any deity coming to some sort of faith, whether it's Christianity or not, because I just think it's so fascinating. As someone who grew up in the church and like who fell away from the faith for a little bit and then actually now has a true saving faith, sometimes I think, I kind of had it easy because I had all this information available to me and I took it for granted. But sometimes I just find it so fascinating that the brain can go from not believing a thing to believing a thing so strongly, and I just think that's truly a miracle. And so her testimony in particular really motivated this video, because one, I'm really happy for her. It's always great to see someone be baptized and see someone come to faith. And I think what's interesting about her story in particular is over the past 4 years, or during pandemic, there was like an uptick of just like self-care, self-help, just a trend of that just happening. And some of it, I love, but it felt like a lot of it was just sometimes like a money grab. Also just people speaking as if they're licensed professionals, mental health professionals, and they are not. I'm all for setting boundaries. I'm all for, taking care of yourself and like doing all of the things, going to the spa, getting your nails done, whatever, blah, 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 blah. But one thing I have found with these lifestyle influencers in particular is, despite all of that, there's still an emptiness. There's still a discontentment. There's still a hole. There's still a thought of, there's something else out there. This can't just be it. This can't be my whole story, where I'm just, accumulating more materialistic things, that I'm getting more famous, that I'm making more money, that I'm flying whenever I want to, that I'm having this freedom. I always get the sense that they feel like there's something more. And it'll come up a little bit in like their content. I know with Aaliyah's Face, like she started like a Bible study and like reading her Bible like maybe a year ago. The same thing with Arnell Armin. She started going to church here and there. And Kelly Stamps, she's been a bit more vocal about her faith, and she has like a whole different channel specifically for that part of her audience that are Christian. So there's, you know, they're dipping. You know, some people are like dipping a little bit because they're like, I'm sensing there's more to life than this. And there's some people that's going full in, you know, with like Kelly Stamps, Talitha Jane. She's also made not a shift. Like she grew up as a preacher's kid. And so it seems like there was a time where like she fell away from the faith a little bit or didn't take it as seriously. And now she is, which I love that because that's similar to my story, except minus preacher's kid. But anyway, with Vivacious Honey's story, something that she pointed out in her video was that she always felt like this emptiness or this hollowness of this, like, she thought that once she, you know, launched her brand, became successful, had money, got married, finished school, got the degree, was comfortable doing the thing that she loves every day, that she thought that she would come to this place where she's finally like happy. And she got to the end of that. Like, I think she even showed a clip of like her face like in Times Square on like New York City on like one of the billboards. And even with that, she still felt that same emptiness, that same discontentment, that same like, this can't be it. Like, is this it? And I love to hear when people are open and curious, because it's like, if you're, I don't want to say closed-minded, but if you're closed off to an idea completely, I don't know, it just feels like unwise. It sounds like for her, for a while, she was closed off to it, and she kind of actually judged people and looked down on people who had a faith and thought it was kind of silly. But when she reached this point in her life where she felt this emptiness, even after all the success, she actually went to a Christian friend who helped her in her faith journey and helped her go to church and pray for her, because she asked her friend, you know, basically what keeps you going, what makes you happy? And the friend said, you know, God. And so she said she wanted that. So I'm so glad that even that is a grace of God, that she didn't close off her heart completely, even though she had this other belief system that, you know, nothing exists, or I don't believe in anything, to, okay, let me be curious. And I think people come to that point because they get so desperate of just living the life that they've been living. Even if you don't have all of these things, success, money, materialistic things, I think in general, at our core as humans, we sense that there is something that is supposed to fill our hearts, and there's a hole there meant for something greater than we can imagine. And our mistake is that we attempt to fill it with things that were never meant to fill it. And the only thing that could fill it is God. So yeah, I just thought it was really interesting. And I think I just wanted to point it out, because I think sometimes for people, I know for me, sometimes when I watch like lifestyle content creators, sometimes I have to take a break, because it's like you get into this comparison, because it's like, yes, I have the Holy Spirit within me, I have Jesus, but like I still also want these materialistic things too that these other people have. And I have to get my heart in check and be like, or God has to get my heart in check and be like, you have to chill, because you don't know what those people are going through. You only see them through a screen, so you don't know their whole lives. They're only sharing like a small part of their lives. 2, God calls me to be content, or calls Christians to be content in what they have. And Paul learned to be content in need and in plenty. So it's a thing that you have to learn, which I am learning. So yeah, so I just thought it was interesting. And I'm like, not gonna talk about these influencers like in detail. Like, that's not the point of the video. I think the point is why self-help, self-care, and constant striving just does not work long term. It crashes eventually. Yeah, so why self-help, self-care, and constant striving just does not work long term. I mean, you don't have to be a religious person. You don't have to be a Christian to acknowledge that we are all searching or looking for a purpose, a higher calling, or reason for like, why are we here? My personal belief is that we're here to glorify God and bring more people to know him and to enjoy him fully, until we can enjoy him for real fully when we get to the other side of heaven, when we get to heaven. Now we're on the other side. So I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with wanting to take care of yourself. In fact, I think it's wise to tend to your emotional, physical, financial, spiritual, all of the occupational and social health and wellness. There's also, I think, nothing inherently wrong about striving to be successful, being an expert in your field, being good at what you do, using your skills to help the community, to help others around you, to help yourself, your family. Like, there's nothing inherently wrong about wanting to like make money, make a living, live comfortably, and to do it well. I think all people should strive to do that. I think the question I have is, on what foundation am I building this on, and can that foundation sustain me? So now if your goal is, I want to be a millionaire and I want to build a successful business, that's great. That's not an inherently wrong goal or desire to have. But I find when people do it usually out of selfish ambition, it doesn't work too well. As far as like this, the business could be successful, but as far as filling you internally, nah. I think when we have a goal or a purpose that is outside of ourselves, like to better a community or to help a certain marginalized group or whatever it is, I find that even in that, we feel a bit more motivated and a bit more purposeful and a bit more oomph when we have a goal outside of ourselves. So that's the question. On what am I building this on? Because I think for a lot of like influencers or content creators, especially who started off like before TikTok, who have been doing this for like a really long time, like they just started it out of fun. I mean, most people do, just like out of boredom, out of not really thinking that they would make money out of it, right? And then I think what happens is, or it looks like what happens is, they do eventually, after years and years of hard work, this thing that they enjoyed out of like doing it as a hobby, they end up making money, making their living off of it, and, you know, getting noticed by big brands and working with other people and making a lot of money, that it's like, wow, this thing that started off as just a hobby is now actually sustaining my life. And now I have to, in order to sustain my lifestyle, I need to continue doing this thing at a higher level. And so I think for some people, and I think what happened with Kelly Stamps is she kind of had to reframe why she was doing what she was doing and what she was chasing after, because she talks about a lot about the algorithm and being a slave to the algorithm and not wanting to do that anymore. And I think in the beginning, like once you get like a lot of success, hers is a special, I feel like it's a special type of situation because she did blow up pretty quickly during a time where, like, you know, we were all in quarantine. And so I feel like her story is unique. But I think there does need to be a reframe eventually with the type of maybe content, or you have to ask yourself, why am I doing this now? Because if you don't have a vision, you don't have a purpose, then you're just going to be doing something in vain. You're not going to feel like, I don't know, you're not going to feel the motivation to continue to do it, versus if you set a clear vision, a clear mission for what it is that you're doing, then it feels like, okay, there's an end goal. I feel empowered and motivated to continue. I don't know if I'm explaining what it is that I'm trying to explain properly, but I'm going to end that thought there. Okay, if self-help, I'm just looking at this quote that I wrote down. If self-help is about fixing something, self-care thinks you're already great. But a lot of people are doing the self-care to feel great. So if you're not feeling great, so you're kind of just like in this cycle over and over and over and over again, where you're feeling fine for a little bit, but then you're not. And then you have to do more self-care, more self-help, and then you're not fine. Right? So it's this very vicious cycle. Anyway, that's from a New York Times article. When did self-help become self-care? There's a quote by C.S. Lewis that I like, and it's pretty long, so bear with me. Most people, if they had really learned to look into their own hearts, would know that they do want, and want acutely, something that cannot be had in this world. There are all sorts of things in this world that offer to give it to you, but they never quite keep their promise. If I find in myself a desire which no experience in this world can satisfy, the most probable explanation is that I was made for another world. Probably earthly pleasures were never meant to satisfy it, but only to arouse it, to suggest the real thing. If that is so, I must take care, on the one hand, never to despise or be unthankful for these earthly blessings, and on the other, never to mistake them for the something else of which they are only a kind of copy or echo or mirage. I must keep alive in myself the desire for my true country, which I shall not find till after death. I must never let it get snowed under or turned aside. I must make it the main object of life to press on to that other country and to help others to do the same. And this is a quote from his book, Mere Christianity, pages 135 to 137, if you're wondering. Love that book. Would recommend to read. If you're curious about Christianity, even if you're not, I try to read that book maybe like once a year. Okay, so what can we learn from these influencers? Or what have I learned? Because I don't know what you could learn. You could learn whatever you want, depending on your goals, depending on where your heart is set. But something that has helped me, because I found myself becoming discontent, coveting a little bit. So what I've learned about my own heart is that truly the heart will always be discontent, but unless you put your hope in something that's greater than you, and I believe it's God, the soul will never be satisfied. What I have learned from these influencers is success, money, status, material things cannot fill you up. And you could even notice that in your life too, because sometimes I'm like, oh, once I get this job, then I'll feel better. Once I reach this weight, I'll feel better. And what did you have it? You get that thing, you get to that weight, you do whatever. I have found that it's like, I want more, I want more, I want more, I want more, I want more. And it's like, whoa. Shut it down, shut it down, shut it down. And so it gives me hope to see that, it encourages me to see that these type of influencers are curious about Christianity, or are exploring it, are, embracing God to some extent, even if, because some of the ones that I named, they're not like, I don't think fully Christians yet, but are like reading about it, more curious about it. And I love that. I love that. Another thing that I've learned is that your identity is not in what you do. Trust in God to give you your identity, and trust in what he has already done on the cross. And that's it. I've come to realize that, what I do is not who I am as a person. What I do is maybe part of my assignment here on earth, part of my mission, the personal mission that God has given me to affect the people around me. But I am not just what I do. And I struggled with that for a long time, that what I do, my occupation, is who I am fully. And once that didn't fulfill me, I felt like empty. And so I have come to terms with, and I'm comfortable with saying, that's not who I am. I am just maybe skilled, or have a special skill set to do certain things. And God is allowing me to use that specific skill set to accomplish whatever goal that he has in that moment. And so I'm just grateful for whatever opportunity that I have, whatever job that I have. I'm not seeing it as this is my dream job, this is my dream this, I'm going to be happy when I get here. I am done doing that, because truly does not exist. Because I thought it did exist. I thought that once I got a certain job that I would be happy and feel, and I actually found pretty quickly, it's not what I wanted, and it's not what I expected, and that's okay, and that's good. What's the solution? For me, I also wanted this video to be like encouragement to those creators too that I mentioned, because I feel like a lot of creators get like a lot of flack. And truly, we don't know how they're living for real behind closed doors. We don't know what they're battling. Another person too, Megan Ashley, with her transition from like secular entertainment to now being in the Christian world. I love her story, because she has a similar one to mine in the way that like grew up in the church, but wasn't, really fell away a little bit and then got serious about it. Love when God redeems people. And he does it all the time. He's in the business of doing it. And so this is also like an encouragement to any of the creators that I mentioned: Aaliyah's Face, Kelly Stamps, Cara Amanique, Arnell Armin, Vivacious Honey, Talitha Jane, Megan Ashley, just to keep on keeping on. Also, for anyone who's watching this too, that if you think once you reach a certain age, once you marry that person, once you have this amount of kids, once you have this job, once you go on this vacation, there is joy in your now. And I don't know your situation, but there is joy that can be found in your now, even in the turmoil, even in the chaos. I don't know how that will come, in what form it'll come, but ask God and he'll give it to you. He will. He will. All right, so that's the end of this video. Thank you for watching. Okay, bye.